So you get pleasure and you think you've done something fantastic. But very soon, that sense of agency, that I did this, I did that, that will soon also turn into despondency, because grief will fall into your lap. Disappointment will fall into your lap. And then you think that you are not the author of that. Then you think the divine is the author of that, or fate is the author of that, or some bad karma is the author of that. Or if you have a villain in your life, who could be a husband or wife, or your brother or your sister or somebody, a competitor in the office, because of those villains, you failed in life. So you've got lovely illusions that you've kind of identified all the wrong candidates as the causes of your sorrow. And you have no clue as to what are the real causes of your sorrow and the real causes of your happiness. And that is the divine. So in Jyotish, we replace the cosmic benevolent life energies with functional benefic planets, and the cosmic malevolent life energies with the functional malefic planets. They are the 9 planets which are going around, the 7 planets which we know, and 2 shadowy planets called Rahu and Ketu, points signifying the intersection of the moon's orbit of the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the path of the sun on the zodiac. The sun makes an orbital thing on the zodiac, and so the sun is moving on the zodiac, the moon is also moving. So there are points where the moon's orbit keeps intersecting the ecliptic, and those 2 are mathematical points. They are called the north node of the moon and the south node of the moon. Now, in astronomy, Rahu and Ketu, the north and the south node, they create eclipses. That is, they kind of completely block out the luminaries. So we say the sun is eclipsed, we say the moon is eclipsed. Those are caused by these mathematical points, Rahu and Ketu. But in astrology, which is a kind of another discipline which arises by the interpretation and application of astronomical data to the human drama, mapping of astronomical data and orbital motions of the planets, you map it onto the human drama. And then you find that every event in human life, or a sad event, corresponds to certain planetary positions. Not that the planetary positions are influencing your life. The planetary positions signify the divine dance, the cosmic dance, that the malevolent energies and the benevolent energies, how they are moving and changing. So the planets represent the Devic energies and the Asuric energies, and those energies have got a name. They are called Navagraha Devatas. That means they are divine energies, or Navagraha Shaktis. Navagraha means, Nava means 9, and Graha means the planetary thing, one which possesses you, one which grasps you and fixes you. So Navagraha Devatas and Navagraha Shaktis. And in Jyotish, you study on a minute-to-minute basis, on a day-to-day basis, the positions of the planets, which are not significant in themselves, but they have a special significance in that they represent the configuration of the 9 divine energies, half of them benefic, half of them malefic, as they impact and impinge on your life. As they impact and impinge on your life, as they drive you, as they pump your heart, as they make you breathe, as they give you thoughts, as they make you move from one country to another, to undertake one challenge after another. That which is represented to the planets, that is signified by the planetary positions. So, the lesson for us is, the planets do not govern our life, but the divine governs our life. And that you cannot know who the divine is, what the divine is, where the divine is, unless you undertake a specific inquiry and a specific journey to fathom these questions. And that journey is called moksha. That's the last goal of the human life. You've got to undertake that journey by inquiry and by understanding. There's no other way to it. You've got to inquire and you've got to understand exactly like how the scientists are doing. And once you do that, then you will develop a kind of a romance with the divine, a romantic relationship with the divine. And then the divine will become very real to you, notwithstanding the fact that the divine is not an object. The divine is not the sun, the divine is not the moon, the divine is not any vigraha in any temple. It is beyond all that. But we may represent the divine by means of vigraha and by means of a yantra, by means of a mantric energy. We can do that for certain convenient purposes. But the divine is beyond nama rupa, beyond name and form. And that divine is orchestrating our life. So anybody who wants to know how this divine is orchestrating our life, they should probably study Jyotish. Now, because the civilization in America is a science and technology civilization, it is inspired and driven by science and technology. And in the 15th century in Europe, there was a different kind of civilization, a religious civilization. And the religious civilization kind of lost its soul and began to control the masses and began to do which it should not have done. So it lost the favor of the people. So there was a revolution, and then the power of the church was overthrown. So that is called the Age of Enlightenment or Renaissance, rebirth. And then science and technology occupied the throne where God used to sit. So this is called the apotheosis of science and technology. That is, science and technology have been promoted and deified so that they take the place of God in human souls and in human hearts. Because you see,
this is called the apotheosis of
science and technology. You're able to fly aeroplanes from one continent to another.
Science and technology.
You're going under the earth. You're doing wonderful things. So you're very impressed by all that. And so you say that we don't need religion. And what we need is science and technology, because it's giving us all the pleasure, it's giving us all the control of nature. This is what we need. So the earlier religious worldview has been lost. And astrology was in existence in all the ancient civilizations. It was there in Egypt, it was there in medieval Europe, and it was there in China, and it was there, of course, in India. And anybody who's an intellectual in those ancient civilizations, they had mastery over this astrology. Just as people in our times, the bright people, the great professors, the learned people, they have mastery in the sciences, because that is the foremost intellectual discipline in modern times. Similarly, we go back 1,000 years, 2,000 years, people were interested in this mystery of life. Their thing was not to kind of get some power as to make life more comfortable, discover steam so that you can have steam engines and not that kind of a thing, but to understand the impenetrable mystery of life. That was the intention. And Jyotish was a means of penetrating this mystery of life. So all bright people, they were studying Jyotish, and they were trying to use Jyotish in order to come to the divine. That is why in the Vedic tradition, Jyotish is an anga of the Vedas. So it's called Vedanga Jyotisha. And its essential function, what is its function? Jyotisha mayanam chakshuho. That is, its place is, it is the eye of wisdom. So what will happen if you have the eye of wisdom? Now, if you have the eye of wisdom, then you will not have a single question, a single conflict, a single confusion. You will have brilliant clarity. About what? Clarity about life, clarity about the human drama, clarity about the divine. So then what is your state of mind? Your state of mind is you are in perfect peace, with yourself and a perfect peace with the entire world. Of the eye of wisdom. So the function of Jyotish is to awaken that eye of wisdom. Jyotishamayam Chakshukha. But in modern times, as I was saying, that Jyotish has been rejected. Because, why has it been rejected? Because you do not understand it. Finished. You want to understand it scientifically, you want to understand it on the basis of first principles. Now, nobody is teaching you how to understand Jyotish in terms of first principles, in terms of basic sutras. So it doesn't make sense. And somebody says planets are controlling you, and you dismiss it. This is idiotic. How can planets control it? I can at least accept if you say the sun controls us, the moon controls us, I'll go along with you. But I'm not certainly going to go along with you if you say that Saturn controls us, if you say that Jupiter controls us, because I don't have any evidence to support this. So you dismiss the whole thing as hogwash. So Vedic astrology has lost respect in the modern world, but it is for you to go contrary to the current of modern times yourself, if whether this discipline of knowledge, it's a fruitful discipline of learning, or it's an unwanted item of luxury, intellectual luxury, unwanted item of intellectual sophistication. And because it demands many, many years of study, like you're studying the sciences, 3 years you are in the graduate school, then masters another 2 years, then your doctoral work another 4 years, so you study for something like 10, 15 years. You've got to study for 10, 15 years. Jyotish will come alive for you. It becomes an extremely real thing, and it's not any speculation, and it is not any superstition, and it is not any pessimistic kind of thinking, as precise as any of the disciplines of science, and but because it deals with a certain field of study, and that is the life drama. And the life drama obviously has infinite number of variables, because already there are infinite number of people, and their life has got infinite amount of life data. And so if you want to find a kind of systematic ordering or structuring of the life data of an infinite number of people, of 6 billion people, then that's an enormous amount of data. The data, how do you store the data, how do you retrieve the data, how do you apply the data to actual life? So that's a long time. So that is why I say 15 years. You study for 15 years, exactly like how you go to university and you study economics or mathematics or theoretical physics or medicine or law. In the same way, you have to study Jyotish. And then Jyotish will come alive. And then what will Jyotish, what good will it do to you? What will it do to you? And Jyotish will give you humility, will give you clarity. It will bring into your dictionary, which is no bereft of the divine. There's no divine in your dictionary. In your worldview, you've got a worldview given to you by science and technology. In that worldview, the word divine is non-existent. The word God exists in the English dictionary, but the word God is non-existent in the dictionaries of science and technology. Therefore, in the worldview, there's no such thing as God or the divine. So if you bring that into your dictionary, it will give you a completely new worldview, and you will understand every happening. Just yesterday morning, a person who studied Jyotish with me, a German who lives in Santiago in Chile, he sent me a mail that his small 19-year-old son fell into the swimming pool. He just fell into the swimming pool accidentally, and he swallowed a lot of that water, and the parents were agonized. And because they don't know whether he can be resuscitated. They don't know. So fortunately, somebody noticed the child already gone into the thing, and then they retrieved. Now he wants to understand this event. And so he knows enough Jyotish He's a very bright person. So he immediately looked at the chart and he knew that there was a transit affliction. A transit affliction. For example, the World Trade Towers were hit. That is due to a transit affliction in the chart of America. America has a chart, just like all of us have a chart. And America is a very great country. And once I was reading, many years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I wanted to come to America. And so I got hold of a book which kind of introduces America to people who want to come to America. And they described a whole lot of features, American culture and the American mindset and what is the outlook in America. And I could deduce everything in exactly 4 seconds from the American chart. America has got a Cancer ascendant chart. There's a strong sun, a strong moon, a strong Saturn, a strong Mars. And so you can understand nations, you can understand people, you can understand the ethos of nations. The ethos of India is different from the ethos of America, which is different from the ethos of Germany. So you can understand individual people. For example, take married people. Now, this relationship is always extremely contentious, the husband and wife relationship. So the husband is trying to kind of change the wife into something which he thinks she ought to be, and the wife is not directly, because she can't do that, because man is more powerful in the modern world. So very subtly, she also does her engineering, husband engineering. Husband into something more desirable and more satisfactory for her soul. So both are going through this game. And the fruit of this is grief. Tremendous conflict. So because you've got tremendous conflict, it explodes into divorce. It is beautifully covered up, and then it goes into a new chapter that from now onwards, the force which runs your married life is hypocrisy, which is the thing going on in India. So marriages survive because of hypocrisy. So you never address problems. You don't know how to actually see your husband or wife as the divine. You don't know how to deal with the reality of marital relationship. There is so much of pain in it. So now you go to a bright astrologer. And then the bright astrologer will tell you that, look, man, your wife is not your handiwork. She is the handiwork of the divine. She has been architectured by the divine with certain gunas, with certain rasas, with certain tattvas, and you want to understand who she is by divine architecture. How is she made? And take care. You will not be able to tamper with that architecture. That architecture is for life. So, if you are capable of listening, many people are not actually capable of listening, then you engage in a dialogue with the astrologer, and the astrologer will convince you that every human being has a unique divine architecture. And the function of Jyotish is to unveil this divine architecture for you, or the divine has architectured you. Now, once you understand that you are architectured in a certain way, your wife is architectured in a certain way, then you have been told you can't tamper with that architecture. A cow is a cow will not become a horse is a horse, it will not become a blue whale. But you want to convert a cow into a blue whale, and you want to convert a blue whale into a tiger. That's what you're doing all the time. Now, this is not possible. So you've got to understand the divine architecture, and once you understand the divine architecture, you'll take your fingers off. You'll no more meddle with life. You won't meddle with life. And to learn not to meddle with life demands tremendous understanding, tremendous detachment. And without that, you're not having peace. You never have peace. So you must have the detachment, you must have the understanding, you must have that clarity, and once you have that clarity, you will stop the meddling work. And once you stop meddling, your married life will become beautiful. It will become beautiful because you know who your wife is, you know who your husband is, and the real wife which you see, and the real husband which you see, that is only a mask. It is the divine masquerading as your wife. It is the divine masquerading as your husband. Sometimes very comical masks. You think, oh my God, the divine has become so stupid? Yes. Yes, the divine has become so stupid. That will come as a realization today. Then you'll jump to joy. Then you want to know how your health is going to be and why you got a professional setback and what can you do by way of remedial measures to avoid the oncoming of a certain disease in your 80th year or 70th year. What can you do? Now Jyotish will give you remedies, will tell you how to appease the afflictions in your chart. And therefore, these are called preventive remedial measures. To have health or your ego must be humble enough remedial measures and to actually undertake the performance of the remedial measures and to do them on a daily basis or weekly basis or monthly basis. You must have the humility, arrogance of science instead of the humility of a sage. Then you're not coming anywhere near those remedial measures because you've already prejudged. He said, now it's all humble. I'm not coming here. I don't believe it. So, Jyotish, so as I see, Varaha Mihra, for example, one of the great astronomers and astrologers of ancient India, kingdom, which is not guided by astrologers, is doomed. That's what Varaha Mihra said. So kings always used to have astrologers. Because the astrologer will tell when to go for a war, is the timing right? If you're going to go for a war, are you going to come out victorious or are you going to be decimated? So there's a timing for everything. There's a time to fight. There is a time to be peaceful. There's a time to do reformatory work. The whole of Jyotish is Kala Vidya, understanding time. Time. And Vastu is understanding space. How to deal with space. Space is also very mysterious. That time is very mysterious. And so because of these benefits and fruits, Jyotish is extremely significant and extremely necessary for man. Now this is the chart of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the Indian nation. And it has got a very powerful Navamsha chart. The chart is one of the revision charts, the strength of the soul. And if the whole mother chart, the Rasi chart, is the tree, then the Navamsha chart is the fruit. Then the Navamsha chart is the spinal cord. So it is a kind of the main mother chart. So the Navamsha chart is very important. So astrologers will study the Navamsha chart, and when your son or daughter are going to get married, then what they do is they take the Rasi chart and compare with the other Rasi chart. They take the Navamsha chart and compare with the other Navamsha chart. And because the Navamsha chart shows the spiritual strength. Now, if you don't have spiritual strength, either your married life will have to go on a hypocritical track, or it will collapse. Because you need self-knowledge, you need to be unselfish, you need to understand yourself, you need to understand your wife in order to make a success of your marriage. But without that knowledge, you will be confused. You won't have clarity. You won't be able to accept the fact that your wife is so and so, your husband is so and so. You can't accept it. You just can't accept it because your ego is so strong. So there are 100,000 utilities of Jyotish. This is just a short exposure, and it's a roadmap of life. You're driving in a car. You're driving 700 kilometers. Now you can come across a certain impasse on the road after 300 kilometers. Now Jyotish will tell you there's a time bomb in the area. So then the remedies will tell you what you do about it. So it's a basically roadmap of life. And just as a good patient has to have good knowledge of anatomy and physiology before you come to the consulting table of a doctor, in the same way, a person who wants to really benefit by Jyotish, he has to understand the fundamentals. Without understanding the fundamentals, you should not sit with any astrologer. Because the astrologer can also take you for a ride. Because you're anyhow blind, so you have no discriminatory power. You don't know whether he's speaking the truth or speaking some funny things. And so if you have some knowledge, you can question him at every stage. Why is this so? Why is that so? Why is this so? Why is that so? And then he'll clarify things. And if he's not clarifying things for you, then you become dissatisfied. You can go to another astrologer. So that is the way you've got to consult. So just some glimpses. And okay. Another thing I missed telling you. Now, see, in theoretical physics, a very wonderful thing happened. They discovered the laws of atoms and electrons. And so atoms and electrons behave very, very differently from the way tennis balls and cricket balls behave at the macroscopic level. So tennis balls and cricket balls obey Newton's laws of motion, whereas electrons and atoms obey quantum mechanical laws. Now, they found out the laws of quantum mechanics, which are mathematical laws. But nobody knew the meaning of those mathematical equations, Schrödinger's equation, Heisenberg's equation, Dirac's transformation theory, nobody knew. But they're working. You put in an input, and then you're getting an output, and the output tallies with the experiments. So, but what is the meaning of it? Nobody knew. Then came a German physicist called Max Born. Now he gave an interpretation of the quantum mechanical equations, for which he got the Nobel Prize. But he got it when he was 80 years old. So during the war, he fled to England. He was living in England, and he did this work. And so he gave a meaning to it. So similarly, what is the meaning of the horoscope? Now the horoscope is the mood of the divine at the time and place of birth. It is like a bija, a seed. And out of that seed will arise the tree of destiny of your life. So the horoscope is that seed. It is nothing but bija vriksha nyaya, the principle of the seed coming out of the tree coming out of the seed. The seed is the mood of the divine at the time and place of birth. Now the mood of the divine at the time and place of birth is your horoscope. Whole thing starts evolving. It's exactly like when it goes on developing, goes on becoming bigger and bigger. And so now the mood of the divine is changing from moment to moment. There's a mood of the divine at this time. Mood of the divine a minute later is different. Now the mood is always a mixture of the benevolence of the divine and the malevolence of the divine, the wrath of the divine. It's always a mixture. It's always a balance between the blessings of the divine and the wrath of the divine. And so a fortunate individual is one who has got more blessings of divine than the wrath of the divine in his horoscope, which is the mood of the divine at the time of this. So an unfortunate person is one for whom the wrath of the divine surpasses the blessings of the divine in the seminal mood of the divine at the time and place of birth. To account for amazing spectral diversity of human lives, where as the lives play out, amazing variety of patterns, and all fitting into just a handful of universal principles. And the reason why, the view of life, that there is no Jyotish without the divine, because Jyotish is not about planets, is that this is a part of the Vedas, and the Vedas are all about the divine. In the divine, comprehending the divine, understanding the divine, So that's why it's Vedanga Jyotisha. Anga means a limb, an organ, and so Jyotisha belongs to the Vedas, belongs to the sacred knowledge. So that's it. So now I've told you what I wanted to tell you. Maybe I've exceeded 40 minutes. And now, any questions? Somebody has to coordinate. I'm not going to coordinate. Somebody, we want a light song. We want a light song, please. Yeah.
Yeah, get the plan. You made a lead that planets don't control. Okay.
Right.
But planets are representation of the divine forces. So how was that connection made, and was that statistically evaluated or arrived at, or how was it?
Oh, very good question. Wonderful question. You see, the astronomers gave us the ephemeris. Is the day-to-day planetary positions of the Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Mercury, etc. Ephemeris is there. Now, people who, instead of concerned with planets, observing the changing positions of the planets, they thought, see, today that death has happened, today that incident has happened. So, and then they did some backtracking, and then they found that this incident in human life corresponds to a particular planetary position. Then they became curious whether there is a one-to-one mapping between the human drama, every conceivable event in the human life, including birth and death, and the positions of the planets which are constantly changing. Nevertheless, more and more data they kept gathering. And one of the reasons the ephemeris got refined is, as they started applying started interpreting planetary positions and applying them to human life events, to know the planetary positions more accurately. So this was a kind of reverse impact from astrology to astronomy. And so they had to ascertain the positions more accurately and carefully. And that is how some clever guy, he made the mistake, or he was curious, so he applied the data to human events. And then he found a correlation. Then more people started observing, more people started getting correlation. Now, the planets do not control the human drama. The human drama does not, both are controlled by the divine. The divine is orchestrating the planets, the divine is orchestrating the human drama. It's the same laws of orchestration.
Because the argument has always been the planets controlling the guy who delivered you, the doctor or the midwife who delivered you, should have more gravitational effect or
You can interpret.
I'm saying that's because they don't control us.
They don't control it. That's absurd and ridiculous. Now somebody has to coordinate. I'm not going to coordinate.
I like to have a question. You mentioned that the desire that we have because of the divine. So why there is so much conflict?
See, conflict is a part of life. Now you take your body and you take your consciousness. There's an inner drama going on in terms of the flux of thought and feeling. Now, in the theater of your body and in the theater of your consciousness, a certain drama is going on. A certain drama, a tragic comedy is going on. Now, the divine does the orchestration of this tragic comedy. You need theater. And the theater is your body, the theater is your stuff here.
Okay, so when you have the desire, okay, and it's because of the divine, but for some reason the desire does not matter, then the divine changes the plan?
No, see, the moment you have been delivered on planet Earth, the body is delivered, the seed is there, embryo for your destiny. The horoscope is the embryo of your destiny. So from that it starts developing. It starts developing automatically. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pour little sugar, little oil to develop it further. No, it develops by itself. It's a divine programming. It's a divine programming. It keeps going. and you'll get differing thoughts, you'll get differing feelings. And now the funny thing is, in this, you are also a character in this drama. Think that we are all sitting here and a drama is going on there. You can see that drama. An outer drama in space-time and an inner drama in consciousness. Both are going on. Now, you are also a character in this drama. So you see yourself as a character in the drama. Now, if you want, you can be a character in this drama. If you want, you can renounce being a character in the drama and you can choose to be an observer. You can choose to be a witness. It's an option you have. But most people don't exercise this option. You'll be fortunate if you exercise this option. Most people just want to be characters. So long as you want to be a character, you've got to be ready to embrace both pleasure and pain. Now, the thing is that you want the pleasure, but you don't want the pain. No, that's not possible.
You're saying that we are just followers?
No, you are actually a spark of the divine. It is the divine which has taken on the mask of this individual, this individual. It's like, how do you put it? You see, electricity, take electricity. Now, electricity is a very big thing. It's a cosmic thing. It illuminates the whole of New York City. It's illuminating the Washington, D.C. Now that electricity is in this tube light. Okay. That electricity which surpasses the limitation of the tube light, that is the divine. But that divine has entered into the tube light. And you are the tube light, and I am the tube light. All pervasive, it's everywhere. There's no place where it is absent, and without that, there's no life.
And then what about the fever? Do you have the fever or it's just...
You have. You have both bondage and you have freedom. You have both. And you have freedom. And your will is actually the will of the divine. Has taken on this form. And the divine has come for a temporary splash, temporary display. How long is the display? It's like the Deepavali fireworks. Okay, you light that thing which is going to go up. Now it's just like for 3 minutes. Terrific fireworks. So human life is just like the terrific fireworks just for 3 minutes.
Who is that person who decides, let's say, sitting down, I want to get up and do some walking. Sitting on the sofa. Let me watch a little bit of the And I decide either way, whether I walk or whether I sit.
Right.
So I'm getting both thoughts, both ideas. So which part is the one? Who decides or those on this?
See, both are, you are intrinsically you are the Atma. And to know the Atma, you have to give your life to me. To crack the mystery of how you are the Atma. Okay. Now, without going behind it and without wanting to crack the mystery of who you are, you won't know that you're the Atma. No. So long as you lead a superficial life of sensory gratification and engrossed only in sensory perceptions, no chance of making a discovery that you are the Atma. Okay. Now the Atma has entered into consciousness and has become the Jiva, has become the individualized. The Atma is called Dehin. Once it comes into the body, it's occupying the thing and it's called Dehin. And that's, as I told you, Jyotish, 15 years. Okay. Illumination, moksha, the whole life. No shortcuts, no easy answers, and nothing to please you. No. True. Tough, like in the sciences. Nobody discovers and does Nobel Prize work in 2 days, right? But in the spiritual life, you want to press some button somewhere and get something fast. Not happen.
But some people like Uncle Marty, for example, right at the young age, know who you are.
Yeah, divine doing. Not he, divine doing.
So, unusual measure to overcome or augment improve on the effects of the divine. Suppose, as you already mentioned, the birth chart, the divine determined life of the person, whatever happens is already determined. Then in that case, what are you mean you are manipulating the divine by the measure, by casting measure, or you manipulating the divine?
Of course, we are manipulating the divine. The divine is Bhakta Paradina. Divine is Bhakta Vatsala. The divine will listen to you. Why? Why will the divine listen to you? Now, if you are really an ant, the divine won't listen to you. You are yourself the divine. Therefore, the divine will definitely listen to you. It's like
the configuration of various forces, sanctuary forces, how is determined? What happens? What has to happen? What is the remedial measure can really change the?
of course it is changing. Of course.
With my X number of years of experience with different types of astrologers who are very famous in the society and who are not famous in the society. So I've never seen an astrologer who tells me about my past. They only talk about my future. Is there a reason why they don't tell me about my past?
See, you go to an astrologer, to a doctor, because you have some physical ailment. You have headache, stomachache, you have got some tumor somewhere, so you go to the doctor. So when you are healthy, you won't go to doctor. Only when you have a trouble, you'll go to the doctor. Similarly, you go to an astrologer when there are questions plaguing you, and you've got some dreadful disease and you lost a job. So you go and ask the astrologer, when am I now going to get the next job? That's the question you ask.
And I would have never got a correct answer, even if they are talking about my future. And that has never happened, at least for me. So probably, as I said, it's probably if I'd gone to one astrologer, I would have probably thought, okay, he's not telling me the truth. But I've gone to an astrologer who is not famous in the society, and he is famous in the society. But see, if they tell me about my past, at least I can trust them. Hey, he's telling something true. But that never happens within my whole experience. And they only talk about my future, which will happen sometime in the future, and I will never even meet an astrologer in the future. So, is there a reason why they go to this even with the doctor, right? Just to come back to your we go to a doctor as a physical every year annual examination, where just to make sure everything is good in my body, everything is going good. So why don't astrologers say, hey, this is happening in your life, why don't you go do it in
all good astrologers do that. That's called Varshafal. That's called the fruit of the year. All good astrologers do that. I do that regularly for some of my clients who want me. For example, in a family where one family member has got cancer and there are children who are growing up. So then the family is very concerned. What is to happen? How is the cancer going to evolve? So they say, now please look at all the 4 charts of our family members and give a prognosis as to how this disease is going to evolve and how it is going to impact on the lives of the children, impact on their education and on their emotional nature, and how it's going to impact on my profession. Give a delineation, give a flow chart showing what is what. It's a thing which most astrologers are doing all the time. Varshapal.
There you are telling the future of the kid, but not the past, right? Like you do not identify that, okay, hey, first the person will get the cancer. Why is that not being done by the astrologer?
It's done all the time. The reason why...
I'm not challenging you.
No. I want you to challenge me. No. I want you to challenge me. I see. For 350 years, we were dominated by the British Raj. Okay. These 350 years were years of darkness. Now you lost everything, which is your own treasure, the ancestral wealth, the knowledge of your forefathers, everything you lost. Now you lost Ayurveda. You are following Western allopathy. Now you lost your knowledge. You speak in English. Now you don't wear Indian clothes. Now you have to understand that the Indian civilization has been in darkness for 1,000 years. Last 1,000 years. And if you look at, if you play the history of India, then you will see that before the British Raj, there was Mughal Raj. The decadence, how old is the decadence? The decadence is 1,000 years old. Because travelers who came to India, like Alberoni, and who observed India, they have actually observed many things and reported, and you can see that the decadence set in 1,000 years ago. Now, a civilization is a living organism. It's much like you and me, we may live for 70, 80, 90 years. That's the human lifespan. A civilization has a span of something between 3,000 years to 5,000 years. It's a living thing. 3,000 years, 5,000 years. So there is a period where the civilization becomes very old, weak, and debilitated. The Indian civilization is very weak, old, and debilitated. And then another thing, just as you have winter changing into spring, and then spring going into summer, summer into autumn, autumn and winter like that, similarly, a civilization also goes through winter, very cold winter, that is equal to death. And then again, there is a renaissance in spring. The whole thing starts to flower again. So these are called the cycles of the yugas. And so India lost everything. And because India lost everything, sticking on through the outer form of our ancient Vedic knowledge, whereas the inner light is lost. Now the inner light is antarartha, the inner meaning. Now, for example, I asked one of my associates to go to every Vedic Pandit in Tamil Nadu and find out the antarartha mantra pushpam, which is a regular chant which Hindus do. Now, I did not get the answer to the inner meaning of mantra pushpam from a single Vedic Pandit in Chennai. Now, in 2009, I went to Melbourne and Sydney. I had some work, so I went there. And I met a Jewish master from South Africa. Now, he's fluent in Sanskrit, in Tamil. Tamil is my mother language. He speaks Tamil like me. And he was initiated into Hinduism by one of the Jiyas of the Vaishnava Sampradaya in Sri Perambur. I attended his class. He's teaching the Bhagavadpada, but he's a Jewish master. And he knows Hinduism better than many Hindus. And he invited me to his home and we went on Shivaratri. Now he has got a Peetam in his home. Now I am not a famous man, nobody knows me. Now he gave me his Peetam, asked me to sit on the Peetam and then speak. Now you think any Hindu guru will give me his Peetam to sit? Asking. Nothing terribly awfully wrong. So because something has died in us, we lost the treasure of the ancestors, we lost it, and we've got to rediscover it back.
The question was not fully answered. The question, 99% of the people who wear a hat of astrologers don't read depth of an astrologer. If you see in the way in which he consults, first what he will do is, after looking at your chart, he will ask you, at this period in time, you would have had a disorder. This is a method that any good astrologer will do to validate the chart, that your birth time and everything is correct. Only after that, they will tell you, now ask me what questions you have. What would you like to know about the future? So this is the process by which any astrologer would do, a good astrologer, but 99% of the people who walk around are fakes.
That's my question.
That is the question he asked.
Yeah.
I am what?
So, like no one has said, hey, this is your past, and let me now talk about it. Everyone talks about my future,
No.
which I
So to us.
I said, like, I've met the astrologers who are not famous in the society and who are very famous in the society.
Yeah.
That's why I said,
Fame is not a See, so I told you that this civilization is in decadence. This civilization is in the telltale signatures of civilization. I mean, 35 years ago in India, two is a North Pole. You ask, no, the priest will not be able to tell you. But you come to North America, you meet a Hindu priest, and you ask him the Antarapta. He will be able to tell you clearly. Why so? There are people constantly cornering him and asking him questions, so he is forced to learn the subject. And you have to learn. So because the thing is in decadence, the whole of Natya Shastra, Bharatanatyam, was only the Renaissance work. It was done by Professor V.K. Chowdhury. So you meet classical Vedic astrologers, they will not be able to analyze the chart. Now, my case. Now, from the year 1990, 12 hours. It's just a heavy wine for me. Basically. Analyze the single. Then I met Professor Chowdhury. I had a satsang with him for 18 hours. I'm engaging in a dialogue with him, like both of us, for 18 hours, non-stop. Because I found studied Jyotish.
I would like to give opportunity for others.
Yeah.
So let me put it down.
Wait, that's enough for you?
Okay, one direct
So
question.
there are a couple of based on what I heard. Okay, so you say that's what I heard. That it is Atma. Okay, like based on what you said,
Exactly.
that there's an observer and then the rest is all seen.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, in spite of how dynamically changing, it's changing. So, how do we incorporate that in this forecast, corrected measures or whatever? That is one. Second one I have is that if we don't know, how do you get?
Take the second question, time of birth. Now, when you don't know the time of birth, there is, if you're a seer like Narayananji, then immediately he goes back to the time he will retrieve it. But it's very hard to meet seers. Astrologers do a particular thing called rectification of the time of birth. So where you have to supply to the astrologer 10 or 15 malefic events in your life. A disease, when you went to a hospital, a car accident, you had a big quarrel with your wife or your husband or with your son or somebody, and a dishonor and disgrace in the office. Like that, you're going to give about 10, 15 events. 10, 15 events, the astrologer will start calibrating these events. He will have two scales. He will go on by trial and error, start fitting every event into a variable time of birth. He'll go on varying it. At the correct time of birth, correct to probably 4 minutes or something, 1 week. So that's research. The dynamic thing. See, the dynamic thing is happening all the time, and Jyotish is to fathom which is going on. It is a tragic comedy. The tragic, the trouble with you is, you want the pleasure, you don't want the pain.
Of the nature,
Mm.
of the Atma, peacefulness. So you want peace at any cost.
Peace means you must vacate the territory.
Right.
You want peace, get out of the consciousness.
Once you detect, it doesn't matter. But thank you.
Very interesting, intriguing, and related to the element. I really do not know that in the ABC of astrology. I have heard about it. A human being, own horoscope, like collective way, a country like America also has an own horoscope.
Of course.
We are going to have the presidential election of Can you tell me who will be the next president?
Yes.
Nations, branch of Jyotish. Then the Jyotish calculation of the Chaudhary. I approach to very astrology, which is approaching
Every day, like on this election day.
don't there is a now you have to superimpose the divine in the month of September. Hillary Clinton. Now Clinton, nobody knows the time of birth exactly. Same problem.
So you need a seer to really know the past.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
everything is
Everything is around like you born in India. And then everything is born in the US or in Germany or Japan. Child is born in India, 9 years. Just born in India, small child is born in Germany, in Japan, in the UK, what happens? So all of these people have the same kind of
Latitude and longitude is different, and the time in New York is different from the time in Bombay. How can they have the same map? To have the same chart,
divine is the same, right?
pardon?
Divine is the same.
Divine is the same. We are talking about the show which the divine is created. And the starting point for that show is also dependent on the latitude and longitude.
But then to expand on the question, right? If there are two people who are born at the same time in the same place, their roadmap.
Same place.
Hospital, in the same hospital, big hospital, two babies born at the same time.
It's theoretical.
Okay. It's at the same time.
The same hospital, same,
Yeah.
it's different.
Then the charts will be identical. And the playing out with the destiny is
So there.
Of course, variety of remedies in Jyotish, which are in the form of mantras, which are in the form of pujas and abhishekas and charities, and these have to be, but these will work only under the following conditions: Shraddha, faith, and there has to be sankalpa. Sankalpa. You must know why you're doing all these things, and you must have a certain destination where you wish to go. So when you have sankalpa, shraddha, and sharanagati, they will work well. But when they will work super excellently is when your chart itself is very good. Then they will work super excellently.
So if we do not want to terrorism in the world, we can just one person can make a sankalpa and do all the charities and everything that you are saying and undo all those.
No.
So, like, how can that be done? Can that be done?
Because for every thought that you have, 6.5 billion people are having different thoughts.
I have a very simple question. I'm sure all of you know this in my name, but I'm asking. So we are living in this day and age of where people can choose. So how would you comment on that? My sister wanted obviously she wanted to have a day to celebrate her child's birthday all the time. She told that out. My child is born on all the and I need to born on all. Doing what is well with that. I never had my and then my OB/GYN was like, you wanted the day, but you ended up going to day. Are you sure? I wanted the day. I know. It's not a decision.
Immediately cesarean muhurtas in mathematics. I'm giving it. Now, to select a date like August 15th, because it's the Independence Day of India, I want to deliver my child on that because there could be Shubha Muhurta on August 13th. Because of your conditioning and your funny thinking. Now, only an astrologer knows. You don't know. You've got no idea about this. Take a thing of medicine. Doctor, the sudden disease. No, you have to educate. It first take time for you to deliver your baby, and if you want an elective cesarean muhurta, wait. I'll have to do constable work. Maybe 1 week later, it may be 1 week earlier. Out of the national seed cups, a seed can have a high quality, have low quality. A human is a seed, divine seed. What's the divine blessings? So one has to have tremendous discrimination, and that's why along after doctor. The patient will aim to follow everything the doctor. Session the doctor, only if he is convinced, he will start taking the life. and you're going to engage in dialogue. A lot of that whatever is speaking to you makes sense to you. Okay, then you go along.
Yes. Thank you.
Some of like join that moment there.
Of course, but it's such as the karma of humanity. It's the karma of humanity.
I think so.
I don't know, let's call it explanation. Divine, that is, there is planets and everything. So both are divine.
Right.
So the question comes as a scientist that some people devote to power. I mean, this is many different factors are involved. But this observation, as they are correlated to the results of the scientific experiment, that people that are without any exceptions or without failures, because this becomes a very, very multi-dimensional problem.
Right.
And we will have that mathematics. Like that, and in comparison to that, we have that problem, which are not even that many dimensions involved in there. And they are also, there are questions to get a correlation.
Okay, let me go. Harmony. And server class 6. Now, you must be ever pattern which is already not there in the codified data bank. Patterns. Huge number of sutras. Some people are not practice because there are no existing sutras that can account for an event. Then I immediately formulate a sutra. This is a never-ending task because you are basically dealing with infinite amount of data.
So one of the large planets like Uranus and Neptune,
They will never be included because I'll answer this question. Now you see, now you break into 9 slices, including Rahu and Ketu, or if you are a person you will say, let me cut it into 24 slides. In the divine orchestration, we have got one drama which is going on, which is extremely well. What is an enigma and what is not studied is the human drama, which looks absolutely chaotic with no order at all. So, because Burma on this. Uranus, and the Vedic astrology does not need, because the mapping is so excellent.
The reason I ask is because some astrology and G. Raman and all the studios, G. Raman and all the guys, used to use that for studying the state of countries like US or India.
But I don't use Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, certainly not. And I don't need it. I don't need it.
Okay, can you ask the other lady?
They were not discovered.
Let us, everybody will get the chance.
Right. Right. Right.
So how can you predict
No, we don't need. See, I've.
It's just,
Yeah.
you guys all.
Yeah, see, this is hair splitting. Now, you need not stop with the Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. Planet can also be discovered in the solar system, which is way, 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 way beyond. Now, you will want to admit that. Now, where is the end to this? Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, because the mapping is so fantastic, the one-to-one map. It's so extraordinary, the mapping. But without spending 15 years, you won't get the signal. No. It's very hard work. It's exactly as in the sciences. You can't get a doctor who does very good work if he just works for 2 years, 3 years, and he wants a quick result. No, it's not coming. Finish.
But as a theoretical physicist, you can see where the extra planets.
No.
They were discovered later on, but
No.
So it has been mapped in and you have a system, you work with it.
You've been asking for
See, this whole question of karma, I don't want to go into it. Because it's very complex. Because you have to ask the question, who are you? Because when we speak about karma, then karma, and then this karma came, who are you, and so on. But many people do not accept the divine at all. The rationalists and so on, they don't accept the divine. The story of karma. The whole horoscope is nothing but the story of karma and the unfolding of karma, karma phala. Is unfolding.
Very nicely stated the whole concept of
Yeah, let's give her a chance. Yes.
15 years. You study with me for 15 years, you understand it.
Okay, give her a chance.
I was intrigued.
What is her name?
Everybody sitting here.
One question about the planet Saturn. That the ill effects, whatever the position might be, either good or bad. Is it years, 1.5 years only, or what?
Okay, it is a good question. Please listen. Now, human beings don't have basic Atmananda. The Atma Tattva, basic Atma Tattva is Ananda. So the basic nature is Ananda. Therefore, they won't like to touch suffering with a barge pole. That's what human beings are doing all the time. But they don't. Saturn is the slowest of the Navagrahas. Okay. It takes 30 years to go around the zodiac once. 30 years. Now, when Saturn is a functional, when it's a functional malefic in your chart and it's causing an affliction, either natal affliction, it takes an extremely long time. Because it takes a long time, the suffering that you experience because of the Saturnian affliction, like if you're a piece, pieces, and for Cancer ascendant, for Pisces ascendant, Saturn is a malefic planet. And because it's a malefic planet and causing an affliction, some more. So that's why in Tamil they say, Seni Purchirku, they say. Okay. Because you know the astrological truth that when Saturn is afflicting you, the affliction won't clear easily. It will take a long time. Some months it will clear. Okay. But just because Saturn is slow moving, so people are afraid of Saturn. You shouldn't, this is due to wrong understanding. Benefic you never have, only when Saturn is malefic. So there is no proper understanding of Vedic astrology. There is a lot of wrong beliefs. And Professor Chaos, it's a case of Asatoma Sabgamaya. Tamasoma Jyotirga. The Jordan's question that the whole Hindu civilization went what happened to Hinduism. The witness of the chronology of Ramayana and Bhagavadpada, which is the current Dwarka has been things are happening, but we have to wait because we have been in darkness for one. That is why Jyotish doing a wrong thing. They are not.
Yeah, I have a question. When it goes, you're saying the horoscope, right? How can you get answers?
Should be willing to understands astrology well enough to ask the possibility of cancer in order to keep that at bay. So for that you must not be frivolous in your life, and you must have the capacity to think independently. What is endowment? And you go to a good astrologer, and then he will don't get the best because they did.
Promote the healthcare industry. The
Hospitals think you're a shark.
Factors, but we should be observed. A lot of us we want to be the director. Yeah, help us to be the director in the drama. So that's how we direct our own drama in life.
You can to be the Atma, you practically vacate the ground. You will
Become an observer.
become an observer.
But I want to be the director.
Most people have got this thing they're trying to control the husband and wife and good.
Are interested in what's going to happen on election day. I'm interested in what you have foreseen for America for the next 50 years.
Okay, a very good question. Very good question. Has got an amazing the systems approach. There is a very good Vedic astrologer in Iceland. thought on the American chart by research. You got to do research. I just want timing of when the nation people, all the listeners, the chart of America. Now it's actually the Surya Mahadasha. Now the sun is the Mars is strong and Saturn is strong in America's chart. Now America is actually entering into a very good period. A good period. And it deserves to be strong for this pulse. So it's the founding fathers of America, like Benjamin Franklin and founding fathers. They must have been very pious and great human beings. Otherwise, this chart could not have come into existence because it's punya phala. It's punya phala.
Okay, somebody had a question first time. Who had the first time?
If you use for retirement,
Must, because after 60 years, you see 60 years, Jupiter and Saturn, which are the slow moving planets, they come back to their natal positions roughly after 60 years. So that's why it's called Samvatsara. And a second life will begin. Okay. But it's very important that after 60, you become mumukshu. You start searching for moksha. You no more continue the journey of engrossment in sensory gratification, but you move out of that and you adhyatmic journey, the spiritual journey, because the ultimate goal of life is moksha. It is not artha, it is not kama, it is not dharma, but it is moksha. And that's the final culmination of the human drama. So you've got to move out of that orbit after 60 or 65, and you've got to quest for the divine. Huh?
One question.
Absolutely.
Here's the last question. Yes, and then
Are not very accurate, or they're not very positive. It could have a bad influence on the person, and they may be more impacted by that instead of the real.
Very good question. You see, before you go to astrology. Yes, life is not a bed rose. Is Sukha Dukkha everlasting pleasure? Certainly not. So there will be times of grief, there will be times of loss, there will be death in the family. It's part of the nature of life itself. Is the nature. So you got to, the Gita says, think of disease, and then you got to think of death, and you got to think of old age. You got to think about these things. That is the spiritual life. Not about illusion and asking for promises. Please tell me that I'm going to do well. Please tell me that I'm going to prosper in business. What are these silly questions? stupid. You got to understand the intention of the divine in your life.
That they would not have come to me.
Yeah.
Because we don't understand it, that's why we are coming to ourselves. To understand what. If it was a doctor, we have gone to a doctor.
Generally, when I'm getting married, when I'm getting a job, when I'm going to buy a house or something, generally those are the kind of questions. You rarely ask philosophical questions to an astrologer.
I totally agree with you.
Okay. You never want.
I totally don't really.
Yeah. This is the last question.
He's here tomorrow?
No,
Thank
you are reserved. Yeah.
To talk to him, we are going to give the information and put it on the board. His email and +13. Any other information regarding that? So, but he is available Friday morning and sometime tomorrow afternoon. Here are information and people. You will talk there.
I don't know.
Exactly. Oh, it's in the flyer. That's everything in the flyer. So the gentleman at the back, you have a question? That's
completely bad for your planet. So, what's the solution? Can a guru help or God help or how? Going to see temple or what's the solution? Like being good or what? Doing surveys.
Hey, you have to start understanding the divine and start understanding yourself. And then you have got to surrender to the divine. Understanding. Master yourself. If you're in that kind of journey, be sincere. You've got to be tremendously sincere. You should not be sincere for worldly reasons. No.
okay.
See,
Yeah.
these difficulties, gold mines, difficulties. The whole function of the difficulty is to themselves. We always very silly solution.
For the insightful and informative talk. Please, there is a dinner after that. Please, dinner is available.